Rafferty leads the way after the first 3 rounds. Knoxville was another dominant display for the number 7, and it appeared as though no one could touch him. Will Spees or Hine manage to challenge him on pace here in Pennsylvania? Or will they have to rely on a mistake from our points leader? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series presented by the Cruise Shop. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Lernerville Speedway is certainly unique as far as the available dirt tracks here on iRacing. Without the outside wall around the majority of the circuit, it holds its own set of challenges. Let's head to our track guide to show you what we mean.
Welcome to Lernerville Speedway, a staple in the Pennsylvania dirt track racing scene. For over 50 years, Lernerville Speedway has hosted sprint cars, late models, and modifieds on a weekly basis with annual visits from the world of outlaws. Located 30 minutes north of Pittsburgh in the tiny town of Sarver, Lernerville is known for its high speeds and the unique 4/10-mile layout. When a driver first rolls out onto the track at Lernerville, they might ask, where'd the wall go? The only barrier at this track separates fans from the action down the front straight, and it's a short one. That makes Lernerville particularly challenging for those who like to ride around on the cushion, while the top side can help keep the speeds up and provide momentous runs. If you drop your right rear, you're probably off staring at the trees. Well, the layout at Lernerville is also asymmetrical, creating 4 very different corners, and as a result, the back straight's never really actually straight. Turn 3 can be especially deceiving. It's got a wide, sweeping entrance, but buyer beware. Turn 4 cuts hard, and that wall we talked about, well, it'll still come out and bite you. Well, that's our look at Lernerville Speedway. We hope you enjoy the show.
You see a little bit more about Lernerville, but DJ, this one is, I guess, a track where you actually literally go over the edge if you push past things too far.
You couldn't be more right, Joe. This track is utterly unique when it comes to the dirt tracks on iRacing. As you mentioned, there is no outside retaining wall all the way through turns 2, the backstretch, and 3, and parts of 4. That means that to take the fastest line around this track, which is pretty universally understood to be the high line, you've really have to be threading a needle between precision and speed. You want to get that car in these street stocks, especially get that car on a good rotation, get it up around, and really ride that cushion. And the problem being, you just get a hair over the line and you will flip and tumble and fall right off the edge.
So it's certainly going to be something to watch out for. And today's race, by the way, is brought to you by the Cruise Shop. The Cruise Shop has been in operation since 1986. They are a team of highly experienced travel agents that have a huge passion for travel. They specialize in cruises, all-inclusive resorts, escorted tours, Disney and family travel, groups, honeymoons, and weddings. They would love the opportunity to help you plan your next vacation. Give them a call today at 260-755-6125 or visit them online at thecruiseshopfw.com. The Cruise Shop is dedicated to fulfilling their clients' dreams one destination at a time. Tonight's heat races are also brought to you by Jim Beaver eSports, the official eSports team of Jim Beaver and the General Tire Down and Dirty Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Follow the team at jimbeaveresports.com or on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to keep up with their drivers on iRacing, World Championships, private leagues, and more. Let's take a glance at the championship. As we mentioned, that Bobby Rafferty so far has been leading the way. John Hine is a bit distant back there, just hasn't seemed to be able to keep up. Spees and Proudfoot tied for third, a little ways back from them. But then look at J.R. Shepard. You can never hold him back in these BRL races, the Bootleg Racing League. He just seems to always find his way. So he could work his way up into the top 3, maybe higher, depending on what kind of night he has tonight. Robbie Robinson rounding out our top 5, of course. What about our race details, in case we have viewers who have not tuned in before here, DJ?
Well, we are working on round 4 of 11 in this BRL Street Stocks series. We are racing the Street Stocks on the iRacing service. We have a heat racing format here tonight, and so that means that the top 3 drivers from every heat that we see will automatically advance to the A main. We will then have a B main or consolation to determine the rest of the field. We will start bumping drivers out if we reach that magical 24 driver mark. We are driving fixed setup, so everybody's got the same package here, and it's really just down to driver skill and speed to be able to get the fastest lap around Lernerville.
Speaking of the fastest lap, as we wait for qualifying to start, I'm watching that high line come in here, DJ, and it looks like it's rubbered in already here just in the warm-up. Is there any point at which the low line is quicker just because that high line is so slick, or is it just always going to have to be dealing with that rubbery high line?
The high line will start to rubber in, and it will start to be incredibly dangerous, and you'll start to move a little bit down the track if you can. The problem is that with the 9-degree banking here, the top speed is best the higher up you go on the track. Getting down into that low line, it's possible, but you almost have to send a complete dive bomb to do it. You've got to be on the brakes and really get the car to hyper rotate and grab right at the apex to spin you around. So to answer your question in a long fashion, Joe, yes, it's possible to get more speed out of that low line, but you have to be ultra precise to do it.
So it'll be a test of skill if anybody tries to head to the bottom side, as we now ride on board with Robbie Robinson. Seeing how he navigates things, just riding around right now with John Wilson behind him. He's trying out that low line a little bit, seeing the shallow lane and testing whether it will give him anything, just trying to familiarize himself. 6 minutes left until we get to that qualifying session here for round 4 of the Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series. So this heat racing format, one thing that I've always found curious, because I have covered this series a few times before, is the fact that they have that inversion on the qualifying, DJ. I mean, since it's going to send you to the back of your heat, is there anybody who maybe, is it worth trying to game it and see if you could get yourself a little bit farther up, or do you just want to go all out on that qualifying always?
Well, normally I'd tell you would, but actually for this season, they have gotten away with the inversion. So fastest lap is going to get you to the front of the field. So you just want to go absolutely foot to the floor during qualifying to really try to get it.
There we go. So they've changed things since I've last been around here in the Bootleg Racing League. Again, watching through 1 and 2 as Robbie Robinson continues to work on his warm-up. He really get a good sense. One thing I do love about the lack of the outside wall, though, is just look at the gorgeous views that you can see out. There's almost like a valley to the other side of the track, and you can see all the beautiful foliage that iRacing has replicated out here. And then the above view, you can see how they also have quite a bit of a hill down there. Now, I have seen also, DJ, drivers that go past the dirt that they've got on the outside and into the grass. At that point, I mean, what do you do as a driver when you find yourself sliding all the way down that thing?
At that point, you basically want to find some sort of religion and start praying, because there is absolutely no grip on that grass. Once you are over there, it is pretty much race over for you. It's very hard to recover from, very hard to get anything going. If you do make an error, you want to try to keep on that dirt to keep the grip. If you start to roll down that hill, you can see that orange catch fence around the side. You get too far onto the grass, you're going to be right into that fence.
Yeah, and well, one thing that iRacing unfortunately did not model was the fact that the fences should be soft, but that you actually hit them and get quite a bit of damage sometimes. So drivers have to watch out. Someone's out there right now. That looks like Brennan Myers currently, who's getting a little bit of experience and actually driving backwards right now for some fun. So we'll see if he can. Nope, he's just going to take a tow. He's not even going to attempt to try and work his way back up the hill. Also, one of the early tracks here on iRacing where they started to implement that outside pit lane. I know that was quite a point of contention with dirt racers for a long time, DJ, that's sort of traditional, at least in these short dirt tracks, that having that outside. I mean, what are your feelings on it? Do you feel like it's pretty safe at this point? Because I know that was a big concern for iRacing.
You can see that pit area there just on the outside of turn 4. You know, for me, it's a level of realism that iRacing is really able to add in, and as a spectator and as a driver, I find it very cool. Yes, I will say, though, with all that in mind, it is one of the most terrifying things in the world when you're driving out on track and you see out of your periphery somebody starting to come in that way, especially at a track like Lernerville like this, where you have that 9-degree banking and there's a lip that you come over, and as you're coming out from the pit lane, you actually have to watch just how fast you're going. It's not unsurprising to see a couple of drivers during practice or qualifying get a little air. You can see that lip right there on camera coming off of turn 4.
I know I did that my first time taking a car onto this track when it was released, and surprised me a little bit. I did not expect that it would be that drastic. So the bowl-like shape this track has certainly lends itself to that, and demonstrated once again by one of our drivers going off and out at turn 4 and returning in not the smoothest of fashion, as the 75 is going to have to take a tow from that one. Set side by side here on screen, getting a little bit of practice going wheel to wheel between Brennan Myers and Jason Menda. Menda looking a little bit slow currently on the warm-up. I have to imagine, though, just because of the nature of the track changing so much, do you not pay much heed to the practice times here on the dirt side?
Not necessarily. What I'm going to really pay attention to as we go along is to see how the guys do in the later heat races, which is going to be a little bit more indicative of what the later stage of the feature race is going to look like. Remember, we do have a reset after the B main. So I think you're going to see some guys starting to do it to really experiment. And I think right now what a lot of these guys are doing is they're not trying to go out and set the blindingly fastest time, as we're seeing times just, you know, tumble all the way into the second off of what Steven Spees' top time of 1:18.6 is. Really what they're trying to do is find that grip for the later stages of the race, because I think if they can keep this close, when we get into the last 10 laps, that's where it's really going to be a shootout, and you're going to see some guys trying to experiment on low lines, sliders, things like that.
Experimentation has definitely proven key for all dirt racers over the years, trying to find that speed, where the track will hand it to you, what's going to get it to you as it continues to evolve every single lap around, especially once we get more cars on here. And you can see them definitely trying out different lines right now in the warm-up, some more successfully than others, certainly here around what is a more difficult circuit among iRacing's plethora of dirt tracks here on the service. Just about a minute to go, then we'll get going on the qualifying. Hopefully everybody's got their 1-lap pace under their belts as well on this circuit. We're riding on board currently with Brennan Myers, looking back at Jason Menda. A few drivers are out currently. I've noticed a few have really been lacking, so hopefully they feel pretty confident about their pace as we wait for the clock to tick down here. Boy, the high line both in 3 and 4, and then I'm noticing on the entry to 1 is extremely rubbered in, but the turn 1 itself does not seem to be. That's looks like the only spot where we really don't have a line.
Yeah, and that's kind of a little bit surprising, because you're really trying to get some good bite around there, but it's going to make things interesting if the track continues to rubber in as we see it go out through it, that you'll have to see guys, I think, with that strong line of rubber, the preferred line is going to be that crossover line that you want to try to get to try to maximize the speed coming out of that turn 2 corner.
All right, qualifying gets underway as we wait for the drivers to circle out onto the track. They'll all each have their own circuit, essentially, for those not familiar with iRacing and solo qualifying. So don't have to worry about avoiding anybody. You can see the number 7, our championship leader, already out there and going. Bobby Rafferty, seeing what he can get under his belt.
And you see Rafferty taking that high line, really trying to make it work. Obviously, that new paint scheme that he talked about last week. And you see him there running it down, running what he can, getting the power down, keeping the momentum up, really riding close to that outside cushion down the backstretch and keeping the high line down through 3 and 4.
It's Going to be the first one to set a time, and it's an 18.548. Naturally, that puts him at the top until we wait for others to come on through. But Rafferty immediately abandons his second lap. Not interested. They get 4 of them if they so wish. This is Justin Morton. And as Justin crosses for his first lap, that's good enough for 4th.
It's a pretty good lap there from Morton. With Rafferty, I'm wondering if he's just worried about that outside line rubbering in, and he doesn't know if he can get any faster than that. So we'll have to keep our eyes out, see if he comes out again. As we watch Morton, he's going to cross the line on an 18.63. That's going to be a slightly better improvement for him. Just bump him up to 4th place as here comes Spees across the line.
3rd place in the championship. What has he got? Nothing yet, because that was his warm-up lap. So he came out quite late. They have plenty of time for that with these things ticking off at a little over 18 seconds. Let's see what his first timed one is going to be then. Down into the line. It is an 18.615, and that is only going to be good enough for 6th position.
He's not going to be happy with that. I think he's going to want to come out and try to do a few more. As here comes Robbie Robinson coming around. Everybody taking that high line. There's only a few drivers not. That's going to be an improvement for Robinson. It'll bump him up from 14th to 12th place as our current leader right now, John Hine, with an 18.519.
Yeah, he has displaced Rafferty. And then behind them, you've got Redding up into 3rd, Spees into P4 on his last lap. Let's see what lap number 3 holds for the 55, and 18.645. That is not better than what he did before. Dips it a little bit down low as we watch Joe Segala duck off the track. He's taken his 4 laps. We're waiting on Brennan Myers and Kenny Kibbe to complete theirs. Kibbe on a bit of a warning from the stewards after last round.
Yeah, he was playing a little bit of dirty racing, and he's sitting on the naughty step this race, so he's going to have to watch himself. As there goes J.R. Shepard putting in a pretty decent time. That'll get him 8th place, up 5 places. There you see him riding over that cushion, and what can happen if you get offline there is Brennan Myers now trying to improve from his 18th place right now.
Myers has an 18.876. That's 0.3 off of our pole time. Let's see what he can do. 18.719. That jumps him up only to 17th, though. That was a big improvement from him.
Really good run there from Myers, as we're really seeing tenths just mattering for absolutely everything around here. And here comes the aforementioned Kenny Kibbe. First guy we really see try to run that low line, but not working out for Kibbe. Only a 19 dead. That's going to keep him in about 18th place here, as now he's going to be, looks like he's working that high line, trying to see if he can get some more speed up there.
So from 19th, can he get himself in a better spot here? Down into the line. Oh, no, it's an 18.834. That's a 10th off of his quickest. He's got one last shot. This is his 4th lap to attempt it, as we now check on Davies. His last lap, not going to be an improvement. 18.616 has him in 7th place. What about Kibbe? Is the 4th one going to put him any higher? It's an 18.588. Yes, it does, up to P4.
That's an amazing lap there from Kibbe, as Justin Morton decided to take a little fun route out and go flying off of turn 3 after he completed his laps. And here comes Tyler File, currently sitting in 10th place, going to try to improve that position, get into those 18.5s that looks like the leaders are going to have it. He's going to get real wide off the corner, not able to improve.
And that's his 4th lap. So he is done here for qualifying. Now, again, this sets the heats. This is not necessarily where they are going to start overall. We'll get to that first heat in just a moment. We'll have 6 cars per, and it's going to be 8 laps in each heat. So these will be quite quick for our drivers. It's a relatively cool night here in Pennsylvania, 76 degrees Fahrenheit. With it was at about 65, now it's 64 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface itself. Grid number 1 for Heat 1. John Hine starting on the top spot with Steven Spees starting next to him. You've got J.R. Shepard in P3 with Bobby Hayes in the 4th position. Jason Menda starts 5th, and Austin Belke in P6. So I asked the question at the start of this broadcast, DJ, on whether or not John Hine or potentially Spees could take something to Rafferty on pure pace, because they sure couldn't at Knoxville. What are your thoughts coming into this one?
Well, John Hine has really been the model of consistency this season. You know, he got third at Eldora, second at Wheatsport, and again third at Knoxville. He's currently the only driver to be on the podium in all 3 races. So I think Hine may be the one to take it, especially Spees looking a little off the pace, a little atypical for what we normally see out of Steven during these races.
And a reminder that only the top 3 will advance to the feature, but all drivers will make it to the feature tonight, as we do not have enough for anybody to be bumped. Essentially, they are going to be racing for a better starting position in the final round, and less having to squabble and work your way through for that good position. If you advance, you don't have to take part in the B main if you qualify through in the top 3 in one of these heats. Right now, Hines, Spees, and Shepard, of course, will be starting from those spots as we come down the backstretch. And the iRacing pace truck peels off of turn 3, leaves control to John Hine. Green flag is out, and he is off out of turn 4. It's a good jump for the number 71. Looks like Spees is going to slot in behind him, looking a little bit low. J.R. Shepard not ready to run that high line quite yet. Mostly single file until 4th place for Bobby Hayes as Jason Menditer is inside.
Interesting there from Hine to start out on that low line, but it worked for him, as now Spees going to be able to really threaten here. They're going to get close. Hine taking a little bit of a lower line. Spees trying to maximize the momentum on that high side. He doesn't look like he has it come on out of 2, but Spees on that last lap got a great run out of 4, and it looks like he may get another one here.
He's putting a lot of pressure on the number 71. Takes a little bit of a look, but then comes back to the racing line. They swing it through 1 and 2, following just about the same run through that first corner, about a middle line, interestingly, it seems, through there.
Bit of a different strategy from what I would expect. I honestly have to think, if I'm John Hine, I may be running different lines to just try to throw Steven Spees off a little bit, as you see a lot of drivers behind him taking that higher line up, and it's working for Hine. I mean, his last lap was an 18.569. That's the fastest lap of this heat. Spees not letting him get away, though, as they come around to start lap 5.
And again, Spees does not need to win this to advance. He only needs to finish 2nd or 3rd to get through. Right now, it's still Hines, Spees, and Shepard that will be going on to the feature automatically. So we are riding on board with our leader right now in the number 71. Spees follows. Spees goes up to the very high side as Hine continues to ride smack dab in the middle. They are still dropping Shepard behind them. Oh, down to the inside. Sorry, the number 55. Maybe trying to slide job a little bit there, but the win for the first heat is going to go to John Hine. Spees 2nd and Shepard 3rd.
It was a gutsy move there from Spees, and I have to commend it, trying to try that low line like we talked about, that high risk, high reward low line. Not in there yet, as I don't think the high line had really rubbered in quite enough to make that effective.
That brings us to the 2nd heat. Bobby Rafferty will start on the top spot for this one. Outside of the front row is Aiden Young. Tyler File will be P3, John Wilson 4th, and Jeff Sharp in the 5th spot. Only 5 cars in this heat. We will have 3 heats here today. Just out in the field. So, DJ, these being very, very short races, only 8 laps. I mean, coming into this thing, if you're not starting in those top 3s, how do you approach this?
I basically am going to be going for broke from the very drop of the green flag. If I'm starting back in 4th or 5th, I know I have to get up forward. As we saw, it may get a little difficult to pass here, a little bit like the race we saw 2 races ago at Weed Sport. So I really think qualifying position is going to be key here. And so if I'm racing back as Jeff Sharp or John Wilson, these 2 back cars in 4th or 5th, I want to move myself forward. I don't want to mess with the B main. I want to start towards the pointy end of the field if I can.
And I guess that makes sense because, I mean, you have nothing to lose since you know you're going to get in anyways. So might as well go for it. So will we see some more aggression? And will Bobby Rafferty be able to finish exactly where he's starting on this top spot? Our championship leader takes the green flag, and he gets a very good jump. In fact, that catches out Aiden Young, who looks like he might lose the 2nd place. Behind him or down to the bottom side, I should say. File in the 23, trying to find some grip, and it doesn't work out.
That momentum on the top side working there well for Adam Young as they all now jump to the high side trying to ride that cushion. That's John Wilson there trying that low line but falling back as now we were in single file order as File again trying to go for that low side, trying to find something happening.
Apologies, these are 6-lap races that they are doing here today as he continues to try and see if he can get by Aiden. Looks like he's managing to hold him off for the time being, but also not able to threaten the number 7 of Rafferty.
No, Rafferty, as he has many times this year, just looking like he's in a class of his own. He's already about 0.6 of a second ahead. File just working every way he can on Young, trying to find something for the first time there, jumping out to that outside line, seeing if he can get a little bit more momentum on him, and trying to find anything to get up into that second place position.
Behind them, they're dropping 4th and 5th, so really no danger among our top drivers. In fact, 5th place, Jeff Sharp just hit the wall coming out of turn 4, and he looks severely damaged. So the 19 is probably going to be finishing in this 5th position, as John Wilson is not a threat, but a threat to the lead, as the 69 almost managed to get inside of Rafferty. Behind them, File went off in turn 3, so it looks like Wilson is going to move up into that transfer spot.
He is, Tyler File being the first victim of that no wall area, as Bobby Rafferty going to cruise across the line to take a P1, Aiden Young behind him, and John Wilson taking the last transfer spot of P3.
So File, unfortunately, throwing it away with his own error and going off track. That takes us to the 3rd heat of the night. We've got Michael Redding, who is starting up top there. Daniel Vaught will be next to him. Ron Snyder starts 3rd. Robbie Robinson in 4th. And Brennan Myers in 5th. It does appear that we will have one more heat, apologies, after this one. Heat 4 will be coming up after this one, so we have more racing yet to go. Not a bad thing for our viewers to get more fun tonight as we now take off once again, DJ, on our 2 pace laps.
Yeah, and you see everybody here coming across that bump that we talked about earlier that can send you flying if you're not careful. You know, I think File is going to be the first of many tonight to be caught out by that high side line, especially as we start to grip in a little bit more. You've got to get your tires, whether it's your rear tires all the way up onto the cushion or your front left down onto an area that hasn't rubbered in. You have to find grip somewhere, and it just needs to be grip from one corner of the car, and that'll be enough to keep you on the track. But if you get all 4 tires up into the gray, say goodnight, you are going to be flying off over the side of the curbing there like we saw File do. So we'll have to see what happens here as this track continues to rubber in our 3rd heat race tonight.
We're seeing it dry up. You can see that lighter line start to form where the drivers on the high side are running right now. Not seeing much in the way of slippery rubber, though, being put down quite yet. That will certainly change once they get to that B main and we have many more cars out and vying for position. Redding has control now as the pace truck leaves for the pit. Green flag is out. Redding with a nice run. Vaught with a lot of tire spin. He falls backwards in a hurry up to his high side. Robinson not able to take advantage. In fact, 2nd all the way down through 5th, all tightly packed, and a big slip up from the 29 as it looks like Myers goes off course briefly and able to rejoin.
Really, really impressive driving there from Myers. Redding able to take advantage of the outside line. First guy we have seen do that, as leader does get to pick the line here. And now everybody starts to file back into a little bit more order, but behind Ron Snyder and Robbie Robinson running side by side, and that's Daniel Vaught going off the banking into turn 3.
Looks like he is going to be able to make it back, maybe. He just barely stays out of the wall as we watch our top runners continue on around. Redding looks to be pulling a major gap to those behind him. Could easily run away with this thing. Robinson runs in 2nd. Snyder's in the last transfer position, and we're almost halfway through.
Myers trying the lowest line there out of anybody we've seen tonight, just trying to find anything to get by Ron Snyder. Meanwhile, Snyder is going to be taking a look at Robbie Robinson, trying to get a little bit more power off of turn 2. It's not going to happen there. He's just going to slide back, both of them running pretty similar lines up on that high side, trying to find anything. Snyder now just needs to make sure that he's able to keep this position and keep Myers behind him. That's his #1 goal right now.
Snyder certainly holding on to the tail of Robbie Robinson in that 56, making sure he can't make any sort of slip up. He's going to move himself up, and this does set your grid position in the feature, so moving up that one spot will give him so much more when they get to the finale. Speaking of the finale, last lap here for Redding as he rounds 3 and 4 and takes victory here today for heat number 3.
Ron Snyder trying a late dive move on the inside of Robbie Robinson. Not going to work out, but Robinson and Snyder taking those final 2 transfer spots as that's going to send the other gents back, and they're going to have to do in the B main as we grid up here for the final heat of the night.
That's going to have Kenny Kibbe starting on the pole with Chris Davis starting next to him. Justin Morton will start row 2 rather, with Andrew Fry in 4th position and Joe Segala in the 5th spot. The last of our drivers to be sorted for today as they come out onto their pace laps and get going.
As they do get on going here. Now remember, points are awarded for the heat races in the B main, so plenty of points still to be had here. And something I wanted to bring up in that last race is that the leader does get lane choice here. And so that last time was the first time we'd seen anybody take something different than the inside line, and Michael Redding obviously easily able to make it work, catching Daniel Vaught out there a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what guys do going forward, and as we get into the B main and the A main, what people decide to take.
Yeah, certainly, especially once the track drastically changes too. If anybody will try something wild here on our second pace lap behind the truck. Kenny Kibbe looking for a clean race tonight to keep himself from getting some sort of race ban if he finds the ire of the stewards again. The pace truck's off. Kibbe waits for it. Green flag is out. He gets on the loud pedal and is able to pull ahead of Chris Davis. Davis could slot up if he wants to, and he does, right in front of Fry.
That's going to send Fry slipping and sliding. He's going to bottom out a little bit over that berm there, and that's going to send him to the very back of the field. Kibbe electing to take that high line again, but Chris Davis all over the back of that orange machine, really trying to find a way by here.
Fry feels the berm, unfortunately, and that sends him all the way to the tail of the field. The number 14 leading ahead of the 07 of Chris Davis, with Justin Morton back there in 3rd, the last transfer spot. Boy, they are getting awful close to the one and only wall that they have out here. Down low, Morton gives a little bit of a try to see what the shallow end offers.
That certainly caught him up a couple of car lengths off of the corner, so I think for him that's something to notice, is it looks like he's much better on the brakes of these cars. Well, when there's somebody in the wall in the back.
That was Davis. Davis slapping the outside on 4. Unfortunately, Morton catches up a bunch from that, but he blocks him off on the low side to keep him from getting a pass in. We're going to ride on board with the helmet cam of Morton.
And you can see him there just fighting that wheel. One of the things that's so hard around this track is keeping it off that one retaining wall. You'd think that it wasn't that difficult. There's only one of them, but I'll tell you, I have smacked that thing more times than I can count. Coming around the outside, you see him here trying to find something, trying to push as hard as he can around the outside, looking for something. Still nothing, still nothing.
With 1 lap left to go now, and he's going to try a slide job a little bit as he goes down to the bottom, but it's just not there. The opening does not show itself. Morton goes for it one more time. Davis goes a little bit low, is ahead of them. Kenny Kibbe's going to take the win, and just barely Chris Davis salvages that 2nd place. Morton sneaking through as the last transfer spot.
Well, Joe, we saw it there. Justin Morton, the first one to really attack that low line. I think we're going to see some guys starting to do that a little bit more as we get into this B main, as it looks like that may be a good way to make a pass.
The ever popular slide job. That was about the first time we've seen it attempted so far tonight from a lot of drivers, other than, I guess, the very first round where the last lap had an opportunity at it. Meanwhile, our consolation grid is now set, and it's going to be Jason Menda who starts at the top there. Tyler File will be in second place with Brennan Myers in P3. Joe Segala will start in fourth, and rounding out the first half of the field here, DJ, is Bobby Hayes.
Well, I think this is going to be a heck of a race to watch and will really be indicative of what can happen later on in the race when we get to that A main. As the guys to watch here, I think, are going to be File and Myers, two guys that just caught a little bit of bad luck in the heat races, and so they're going to be looking to make a good move here in the B main.
File, in fact, starting on the front row. That gives him a good opportunity. Myers just behind them. Sure, he'll be watching to see if the leaders start to tangle and maybe take advantage of that. Get one more pace lap around, then we'll get going. This is a bit of a longer race, 10 laps this time, as opposed to the 6 we were running before. And everybody will go to the feature, but this will determine your starting position. So as we get ready to go green, waiting for that truck to peel off. There goes our pace truck. Jason Menda has control. Green flag is out. Delayed start there for the 45, but he makes good on it. Behind them, big checkup is the 23, trying to keep hold of it. Joe Segala up high, trying to carry the speed. Down low, Brennan Myers tries to slot in, but there's a car there.
That's Joe Segala really making a move good on the outside, and that's going to bring up Jeff Sharp to the outside of Brendan Myers there. He's going to have a little bit of momentum. Not able to hold it, as now it's going to be Segala and Myers running side by side. Is up front, that's Tyler File making a move on Jason Menda. Not enough to make it stick, but certainly enough to make Menda sweat a little bit.
Myers manages to get by Segala into third place, but Segala's going to try and go underneath him. Looks like that won't quite work. Myers doing a good job here to get himself a good starting position as our leaders once again squabbling. Menda fending off the 23, who keeps trying the low side.
I think it looks like Tyler File's just trying to scare him a little bit there, coming off the line, making him think about the slide job. That's almost a reverse crossover there from File, coming up on the high side. He's going to go for that slider again, diving down, and this time I think he's got it. And no, he's going to get up too far into the gray, and that's going to let Jason Menda retake the lead.
So far, so good. Oh, File goes way too far outside. He gets over the berm. He's going to be able to get back on as we get a car around that Segala, and that's going to bring out our first caution of the night.
We're going to jump back to the replay here. You can see Segala coming down the back stretch. In front of him, File's going to get up and over that berm. You can see him there as, Segala just tried a slide job, misjudged it, and ran full on there into Jeff Sharp. And that's going to be a little bit of damage there to him, to Segala. I don't think that's going to be race ending, but it is going to send him to the back of the field.
You know, it does look like it was affected by File because he was returning to the track, and that caused Sharp to go a little shallow. And I wonder if that maybe just, Segala probably would have been able to make it if Sharp hadn't have come down where he did. But I mean, that seems to me more of a racing incident than anything.
No, I think you're right. I mean, that's just a little bit of accident fixation where you see somebody going off, you're doing everything you can do to make sure you don't hit them. Nobody's fault there at all. This is what happens in dirt racing, especially at a track like this where you don't hit the wall and bounce off, you're able to go off and keep coming back. So no fault at all, just a racing incident, and we'll get back under green here in a lap or two to close out this B main.
Look at that, you can definitely see a dark rubbered in line now, as we should get the lights out, I think, this time by for our pace truck. All 9 drivers still running, all still on the lead lap, and as they double up, no surprises here, Menda elects to take the high side.
Menda choosing what the last 2 heat races taught us was a good one, although the early guys taking the inside line. So Menda clearly liking this. Tyler File, despite that mistake, is going to be lining up on the preferred line, on that outside line in the 3rd place. So he's going to have a little heat under his collar. He's going to want to make a good move as the green flag flies.
All right, here we go. Restarting, and the green flag is out. The 45 doesn't get the best of jumps. Look at that. Brennan Myers could try something down into the first corner. He sends it in shallow. Can he find the grip and the speed? He's going to stick with it, and he has an overlap at least for a bit, but it starts to go away.
That momentum on the high side getting away from him is there. Jason Menda getting a little bit over the line on that cushion. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, but still able to keep the full power down. Is now 1, 2, 3, come in a line of 1, 2, 3, but that's Daniel Vaught diving down to the inside, trying to make something happen. Tyler File weaving this way and that down the backstretch, trying to find a line around outside of Brennan Myers.
Myers in 2nd, File in 3rd as the battle for 4th settles in favor of Sharp. Looks like Vaught going to have to file in behind him. Meanwhile, as going very low, Tyler File trying to see if he can overtake the number 25. He's running out of laps to do it. Again, no matter what, you are going to see the feature race. It's just a question of where you're going to start that race. Myers now the one who's going to try the low side, getting underneath Menda. That doesn't work out. Are we going to see something desperate into the final lap as the white flag waves?
I don't know, but Tyler File's got a heck of a run coming off of 4. He's now going to dive down to the inside, and we're going to pretty much go 3 wide. That's File down onto the grass. Everybody's going to get a little loose on the exit of the corner, but it's going to stay. Menda, Myers, and File coming through 3 and 4.
Menda still holding high in the final corner, and it looks like he's got it. The 45 to take the consolation win. Myers 2nd. File rounding out the podium. Sharp just behind them. Then it's Vaught, Fry, Hayes, Segala, and Belke rounding out your consolation order. We'll get to the feature in just about 5 minutes, but now we've got to warm up so we can take a moment here, DJ, to catch our breath and kind of analyze things. So tell me, was there anything that took you by surprise in the heat races and the consolation, and what went as expected?
Well, as expected was seeing everybody running that high line that we talked about. That is the preferred line. What was surprising to me is that everybody who went low was trying to run the slider line as opposed to trying to just get it as low as possible. I think the best way to make a pass here is to basically do a crossover on the guy in front of you. So start high and dive it down low. Get the power down on the high line apex and then power through the apex of the corner. That's the best way to pass. And so I think if I'm one of these drivers, that's what I'm going to be trying as we get into this A main. The other things to keep in mind is that, once again, that outside line, there you see it. Somebody else flying off the edge, as I think that was Bobby Rafferty as well, flying off the edge in turn 3 and 4. You get it just an inch wrong, and it will ruin your race.
Now, I know from my time trying to fiddle around in these cars, they're so heavy. It seems like momentum is such an important part of it. You talked about trying to cut low off the corner. Is there any particular trick to that? Because, boy, I need to learn it, because it seems like the second you try and take a sharper corner, the thing just bogs.
It's all about that brake pedal, Joe. It's really and truly trying to finesse it, trying to get it just right. And you're right, these cars are incredibly heavy. They actually have the worst power to weight ratio on the iRacing service. But if you are able to get it to pinpoint just right and really get those rear tires to dive in, you can get it to work.
So this is just letting the drivers get familiar with how the track state is now, because as we have seen, the first heat is definitely not like what it was now that we've had 4 heats and a consolation. And they just need a little bit of time to get used to things. Certainly noticing that, because there's way more cars flying off the edge than what we saw in the initial warm-up.
Yeah, I think everybody really just trying to push the limits of what it is. And our director just corrected me, by the way. It's one of the worst power to weight ratios. It is not the absolute worst. So anybody who's keeping track on me, that's my bad. As you see here, Bobby Rafferty leading the standings once again with Steven Spees and Aiden Young right behind him. So pretty much our heavy hitters from those heat races looking to keep up their momentum here as we get to the practice before the A main.
Right on board with Redding. Oh, look how close he gets to that wall and says, well, no use in trying that. He's just going to go down low, swing it up high. Maybe too high. No, he actually kept it on amazingly. I thought for sure he was going sailing there the way he sent it in shallow. He and Kibbe having some fun getting used to what side-by-side racing entails here at Lernerville.
I mean, we've seen a lot of good, but that's a big one there, getting up in front of Kenny Kibbe. Really smart of him to be able to back off there and run that crossover route. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you fight a slide job, is you just kind of want to back off, is getting very loosey-goosey through that turn 4. These guys are just having a whole lot of fun here in this warm-up.
It certainly looks like it. As Bobby Rafferty right now is still leading our timing sheets for this warm-up at least, and he will be starting, I believe, second on the grid for this feature race. So won't be on the pole position, but we saw last time at Knoxville, once he got ahead, there was just no stopping him. He just steamrolled the field and stretched away. I have to imagine that, does that make these starts incredibly important just to get that track position, DJ?
It most certainly does. And the one thing that I think will be a major difference between here and Knoxville is that wide open element of Knoxville is not the case here. So don't be surprised if we see a few more yellow flags out. Also, something I wanted to draw everybody's attention to, if you've been watching the entrance here tonight, Brandon Proudfoot, tied for 3rd in the championship, is not here. So that's definitely going to affect him. The hard charger from last week at Knoxville, not here tonight at Lernerville.
Disappointing that we have one of our major players not able to take part, as that will certainly hurt his championship hopes. It's a very short championship in this series each season. Let's go through our starting grid, though, here for the feature race with our pole sitter, John Hine. On the top spot, Bobby Rafferty. To his outside, our championship leader, hoping to try and get ahead of him to hold on to that points lead. Kenny Kibbe will be starting in P4 with Steven Spees in the 5th position. Aiden Young will be starting 6th, and Robbie Robinson will be starting in 7th. To his outside, it'll be Chris Davis. J.R. Shepard starts 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is John Wilson.
Starting off in the 11th position tonight is going to be Ron Snyder, and beside him will be Justin Morton. Jason Menda in 13th, followed by Brennan Myers in 14th. Tyler File in 15th, followed by Jeff Sharp, Daniel Vaught, and Andrew Fry. And rounding out our field of 21 tonight is going to be Bobby Hayes in 19th, Joe Segala in 20th, and Austin Belke bringing up the back of the field in 21st position.
Why in the world did John Hine take off that early? Suddenly just ahead of the whole field.
I mean, when you gotta go, you gotta go. He's just excited, I think.
Wants to make good use of the pole and show where he's going to be starting. As now everybody joins him. So, this one going to be a much longer race than our previous ones. 40 laps that the drivers will be racing for in the feature. And again, cautions are able to be thrown in the feature, just like we saw in the Consolation. So they have to keep it clean. Many more cars out there, 21. What's it like being at the back of a pack this big and all the dust that's getting kicked up?
Joe, it's sheer terror. You are just holding on for dear life on a lot of this. It's very hard to see. You've got to be triple thinking your move into every corner. If you're even thinking about trying to send something low, you have to think about the cars in front of you and what that can do and to cause a stack up. So very, very difficult to run in the back, but you've got an advantage to move forward if somebody makes a mistake in front of you.
The only way to go is up. So let's see if those drivers can do that as the green flag is out and John Hine with 71 pulls out into the lead easily. Rafferty into second. very high for the 71, though, and he struggles off the corner. Rafferty almost gets a look at it. He's going to send it down low. Can he get the track position with a slide job? It's not quite there, and he holds back.
Yeah, he recognized about halfway through that corner he wasn't going to be able to get it. As there's behind him, Michael Reddick jumping up on the wall a little bit and diving down the inside. He's going to be able to pull that slide job, but doesn't get it all the way in front of Bobby Rafferty, and they're going to go side by side into 3. Redding sticking down on that inside line. I don't think that's going to be enough to hold, as indeed Rafferty is going to be in the lead by the time they cross the start-finish line.
Redding decides better to just get back in line and hold that top side. Behind them, first battle is for 5th position. That is Aiden Young and Steven Spees. Spees to the low side in the gray number 55. He's going to get company. We almost have 3 wide with Chris Davis getting involved.
Davis trying to take advantage of a little bit of battling there with Young and Spees. Young really getting loose off of that turn 2, really having to fight the car to get the power down. Spees able to get a little bit of a better run. It better positions him as that top line. You can start to see it there, that dark patch of it rubbering in, drying up, making it harder to go. As here comes Spees trying down the inside. He's got to back off a little bit, and that's going to open him up to Chris Davis into 3.
Incredibly, I don't think we've had anybody fall off the berm yet, at least not that I've seen. Redding. Redding tried on Rafferty there for 2nd place. Now Rafferty switches up with him and goes down low to see if he can do anything on the 71. Lead is seeing some change, or some attempts at least. And in the mid-pack, some action between Wilson in the 75, File in the 23, and Snyder in the 29.
Nice little triangle battle here as that's File trying to make the move out now to the outside of Snyder. Snyder going low, or Wilson rather going low through those corners, really trying to cut down onto the grass. File banking on some more speed on the top line. They're going to be side by side into 3. I think if File can keep the power down here, he may have it. He's got to check up a little bit from Ron Snyder in front of him, but he does have the lead in that little battle. Able to secure 12th place, now cuts off John Wilson as they go into 1 and 2.
Once again, as we watch that, Rafferty took another go at our leader. He had a nose ahead, but couldn't keep the momentum. Let's see if he tries it again this time. And Hine is going to try and go low. As behind him for 2nd place, Redding can't get anything underneath Bobby Rafferty. The number 7 retains that 2nd place. Starting to see a 4-car breakaway. Kibbe the last of them in that orange machine, as we've got a caution, and that is Jeff Sharp.
Sharp there, not sure what happened. We are going to be jumping back to replay here to try to take a look at it, as the pace truck is going to lead everybody around as these cars line it back around here and
the number
slow
19
down.
Yeah, Sharp, who was involved in that incident. Looks like he got tipped around by Bobby Hayes. Maybe not. There might not have been contact.
Looks like he just got a little bit squirrely in 4. That threw him off. He had to come over that line, riding in that super gray area, just going to lose it. I think that's a little bit of incidental contact there. I think he just had started to spin on his own and headed around by himself on that.
Something has also happened to Jason Menda. He must have had an off because he's 4 laps down. He's back on the track and running. May have taken a fast repair or something, because that is a significant amount of loss for the number 46 as we take a look at our pace truck with the lights still on. I think we're getting ready to double file next time through. So there's been a lot of attempts here, DJ, but very few successful passes, it seems.
That's right, Joe, and I really think the problem is these guys aren't really able to commit fully to the slide job. You've seen guys get a little ahead about halfway through the corners or 3/4 of the way through the corner, but by the time they get to the corner exit, they seem a little reluctant to keep that slide job going and really force the guy in front of you to back off. Do not be surprised as we get into the later stages of this race if that kindness goes away and we see guys getting their elbows out a little bit more.
Interesting. Hine opts for the low side. Okay. Seems to like that one better as the green flag is out. Great jump for the 71. Rafferty once again has Redding down inside of him. Redding, could he make this one stick? Gonna give him a little bit of a nudge. The 7 tries to collect it, and that unfortunately is gonna allow Kibbe to get to his outside. One car almost fully off track. That was the number 69 of Young, but he pulls it back over the berm. As up in front, 4 wide for second place. Rafferty down into third here, as Redding might be able to get through, and Kibbe looks like he's the one that's gonna claim second.
Mega run from Kibbe there, just recognizing what was going on between Redding and Rafferty and really taking advantage of it. He's going to get a little squirrely there coming off of turn 4. That's going to open up some sort of opportunity back to Redding, as Redding's now going to dive down. That's going to force Rafferty to back up. Spees jumping up to that high line, trying to get some momentum, but Kenny Kibbe just making that outside cushion work to perfection. See that run he gets off of turn 2.
So top 2 now single file, as it's between Redding, Rafferty, and Spees to sort out the final podium spot behind them. But this is best case scenario for John Hine in the 71, second in the championship, seeing his main rival fall down the order and then some.
Exactly, and Hines just got to keep that power down as Steven Spees trying to get some looks on him. You can see Kibbe there trying to find something with Michael Redding right behind him. The two of them starting to gap themselves out a little bit more from Bobby Rafferty back in 4th place.
We got a caution, and it's Sharp and Segala, it looks like. So I think this starts with Segala, the 81. You're going to see you get tipped around by the 24. Yeah, that's Belkey who gets him. And then, unfortunately for poor Jeff Sharp, who's already had one incident, was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and T-bones him.
That's what happens on a tight little dirt track like this, as you see it here. Yep, that's going to be Belkey just giving him a little bit of a nudge, and then a second one just for good measure, and the two of them nowhere to go.
Sharp not having a fun night for sure. So he'll be back in 20th still, with Segala down in 19th. And John Hines still our leader. What a shakeup at the top of the field, though. That little tiny nudge that shoved Rafferty outwards seemed to be cause almost a chain reaction.
It really did, as Rafferty just kind of got a little squirrely that allowed Kibbe to go by. And I got to tell you right now, Joe, that I think Kenny Kibbe right now is my driver of the day thus far. That move around the outside and just sticking it there to get himself up into second position, as you see there, that is Jason Menda getting a lap back, but Kibbe just sticking it on the outside, really heads up impressive moves.
All right, we are double file once again, and John Hine continuing to pick the inside line for the start. Now he's got Kibbe to his outside. Will this change things up? And can Rafferty try to reclaim some of these positions on this restart as they swing it out of 3 and 4, waiting for the green flag? There it goes. The 71 is off well. Looks like a poor one for Kibbe. And I think Redding could have something if he lets it slide up high. He keeps it low. He's very polite once again, and Kibbe's going to come back at him.
Redding just being a nice gentleman here, and I think it's about time halfway through this race to really get the elbows out, but Redding not giving it up, but Kibbe going to be able to go, and here comes points leader Bobby Rafferty on the outside of Michael Redding, trying to make something work as we've got another yellow.
Looks like John Wilson in the 75 involved in this one. Think he's going to make some contact with Vaught. Oh, but no, it looks like Vaught got tipped by Myers. Here's the replay.
Yeah, it looks like Vaught just got a little bit sideways coming out of turn 4, and we're going to go a little bit up top here. You can see contact early there coming out of 2, so he's going to have a little bit of heat under his collar. They dive it in. Vaught going to get a little bit sideways, contact there ahead of him. He's going to have to check, and then Myers just tips him right into the back there.
Now that was Myers in the 25 that you saw, who just got into the back of him. Myers is able to keep going. Wilson falls down the order. And Vaught actually came out the best of them. He's up in 13th. He's ahead of both of them right now. That's a bit unusual.
Not normally what you see when you run into somebody, but all right, that's a little bit of dirt racing. You know, we mentioned it last time, John Hine keeping running that low line off the starts, and while it may appear a little bit uncouth, he is making it work to perfection, Joe, just jumping off the line.
He really is. as everybody comes down low because we're going to give a lap back to Menda. So that's why you're seeing everybody suddenly on the shallow side of the track. There goes the 45 trying to come back around to the tail of the snake.
Hine again going to elect for that low side. Kibby's going to line out to the outside of him. Redding, Rafferty, Davis, and Spees right behind them. That's your top 6. That's really who we've seen challenging for these top positions here tonight.
If you are new to dirt racing, keep in mind that the caution laps do not count here. So that's why we are only this far in. 26 laps out of 40 as the green flag waves once again. And Kibby, could he lose it this time? Did Redding learn how to try and get in there a little bit more aggressively? No, he's going to give space, and actually he's going to tip into Chris Davis. Davis holds on to it, but he is all the way down in the grass. He spins around, and that brings out the caution. The 07 just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Just absolute heartbreak there for Davis. He did nothing wrong coming through those corners, just some action ahead of him. I thought he was going to keep it coming through that grass, but I think just tried to get the power down a little bit early, and that caused him to go spinning.
And that sends him all the way to the back. I think he was starting, somewhere around 5th on that restart. So that, oh boy, he has got a huge hill to climb with very few laps to do it.
Very much so, but you know who's really benefiting from all of this is Jason Menda. He's only 2 laps down now. He gets one more caution. He's going to be back on the lead lap, and Menda's got a pretty quick car, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him starting to charge up a little bit if he is able to get one more caution flag.
Speaking of hard chargers, Justin Morton from 12th to 6th right now, 15th to 8th for File, and then Daniel Vaught as well from 17th to 12th, in spite of some scary moments for him. So a few drivers making great progress forward here in our feature race. As we give another lap back to Jason Menda, and I think this will actually finally put him back on the lead lap.
It's either lead lap or a lap down still, I'm not sure, but regardless, he's getting very lucky from all of these cautions. As we see here again, John Hine lining up on the inside, Kenny Kibby to the outside. Kibby going to be hoping to get a better restart than he has on those last 2 because he has just gotten left in the dust.
Small correction, it does look like laps do count on the caution. Apologies for that. All right, another restart. And John Hine proving the master of them here today. But now we've got Rafferty able to do it enough. He is going to be behind, but still the 7 does not cut him off. He stays down low, seems to like something at the bottom line. Is it going to be enough? Now he's able to get ahead, but still, he leaves him space.
Joe, there's that bottom line that we were talking about. Everybody trying to do the slider, and it looks like Rafferty, really the first one to be able to make something work, is there's a little bit of bumping and rubbing there between Rafferty, Kibby, and Redding as they go in. And oh, that's Justin Morton and Steven Spees behind him. That's going to send everybody a little bit sideways, but they're going to keep on going here.
He was awful aggressive down in there. Still, Kibby down to 3rd and Rafferty up to 2nd. Now, what can he do with John Hine with 8 laps to go? Don't count out Redding and Spees, who've both been quick. They're still squabbling amongst themselves. In fact, it looks like Redding is into the outside wall of 4.
He's going to be in the outside, but able to keep going. No yellow flag here.
Now we got a yellow.
Oh, there it is. Of course, I jinxed it like that.
Belke in the 24 is the one that brought it out, though. It wasn't Redding. Looks like a little... Oh, we actually had an incident before him that didn't bring out the caution between Segal and Wilson as well. So watching Belke there first, he just goes around in that 3 wide situation.
That looked like Davis and Fry just getting into each other. And then here's the Segala incident we talked about. That's Wilson getting a little bit squirrely. You see him there on the 9. That's Segala. All right, we're going to try again. Here we go. We're going to see him coming in through here. That's Segala in the black car. There you see Wilson getting into it. Boom, 1, 2, 3, just like that. It's as simple as that happening with Chris Davis trying to start up through the field and the 75 just getting into the side of him.
Boy, it seems once you start to lose the car, it's very tough to try and gather it back together. Okay, so Rafferty has now squeaked his way into 2nd. From 4th to 3rd to P2. Can he make that one last spot up to the top position? He's only going to have a handful of laps to do it, and we've seen him finally be the one to get aggressive. So I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to play out here, DJ.
Well, he's the first one to really be able to make that low line work, and as we were talking about, wasn't running a slider line, was running a true low line all the way around the corner. And I said at some point that was going to come in, and it looks like Rafferty's got it working. Problem, obviously, is Rafferty's on the high side, so he's going to have to try to cut down low. The other guy to watch here is Kenny Kibbe. Kibbe has not been able to get the speed on the restarts on the outside. Is he going to have something here on this restart now that he's starting on the inside?
Don't count out Spees up there in the 4th position, waiting for the green flag. And it's out. The 71 gets a good jump over the 7. Can he cut down? He's clear. He looks inside. It barely squeaks by Kibbe, who nearly gets into the back of him. And can he do it? Yes, he can. On the low side on the restart. Rafferty up to the top spot, down to the low side, saying if you can do it, I can do it. Hine can't get the slide job done, though.
And a little bit of contact there between Spees and Hine, and that's Hine going spinning around there, courtesy of Steven Spees. Yellow flag is out, and heartbreak for the gentleman who has led the most laps here tonight at Lernerville.
Is that race over as well? Because we are down to 2 to go. Just the tiniest bit of contact with Spees here. Oh. And I just, I'm the one that jinxed it this time. I was saying how he had a best case scenario earlier on with Rafferty down the order and him leading the way, and now it's flipped completely around to worst case scenario. And indeed, white flag is out. This is the end of the race, with Robbie Rafferty taking win number 3 as they come out of turn 4. It might be under caution, but a win is a win, and the number 7 extends his point lead here in Lernerville. Hine, unfortunately, went to dead last from that spin. Oh. All right, well, yeah, he has got to be kicking himself. Let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Lernerville Speedway. Round 4 in the Bootleg Racing League has gone to Robbie Rafferty, but we really did not expect that one. He started on 2nd and fell down the order when he had some issues partway through the feature race, and then somehow a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, and he got himself up to the front and won with a very late race pass. Spees winds up in second place. File, how about this? He comes back from his poor heat race from 15th in the feature on the grid to third. Kenny Kibbe with a P4 was ahead of Aiden Young in the fifth spot. J.R. Shepard with a mild climb up into sixth ahead of Robbie Robinson in P7. You got Redding, who unfortunately went backwards. He was down in eighth after being up towards the sharp end of the field for much of the race. Brendan Myers was ninth, and Ron Snyder rounds out your top 10.
Daniel Vaught coming home in the 11th position, followed by Chris Davis, who was up as high as 5th earlier in the race, suffering a little bit of contact, being forced to the back there. Jeff Sharp in 13th, Bobby Hayes bringing it home in 14th, Andrew Fry in 15th, with John Wilson in 16th and Justin Morton in 17th. Austin Belke in 19th, and Joe Segala having some of the accidents that we saw going along in 19th, and Jason Menda back in 20th, and obviously, as we talked about, John Hine coming home in 21st.
We've got our winner ready to talk to us. Bobby Rafferty joins us after win number 3. Bobby, you started on the front row, but then suddenly you found yourself down in fourth and kind of mired in a lot of battles in the middle of the race. How in the world did you buckle down and get that thing up to the top spot?
Yeah, I actually got to thank Michael, the little incidental contact, which, when I went back and looked at it, I was originally mad, but when I went back and looked at it, it's just hard racing. But he got me a little bit fired up, and I got up on the wheel. I don't know if I would have been able to catch John just on raw speed. That restart just played out in my favor. I'm kind of curious why he went to the bottom, because he had been running up top, and I kind of like that bottom in 1 and 2, maybe just to block it off or something. But he crossed up the track in front of me on that last restart, and I actually ended up having to jab the brake a little bit, which set the car better than it had all night for the bottom, and I was able to drive straight off the bottom and get by him with him hooking that cushion off of 2. And looking back at the replay, seeing what happened, where I don't know, I'm not going to say exactly what happened. It's not my place, because Steven and John are two very, very good friends of mine, but it looked like they had some contact there, and it kills me to see John lead, the entire race. Honestly, he deserved that win, and he ends up, I think, what'd you say, 21st, so that's a heartbreaker for him. So, but we got lucky tonight. That's 3 in a row. We gotta give a big shout out to Fistful of Bourbon, #winners get whiskey, baby.
Awesome stuff. Third time the winner's gotten whiskey. Yeah, it seems that sometimes with the triumph for some drivers, it means a tragedy for others. But you were also the first driver that we saw who was able to make that very, very bottom line work and work fast. What is it for you that makes you go for those low lines? Is there something that you see or you notice that says now's the time, or what tips you off?
What tipped me off to even go down there, I never know if it's gonna work, but I knew I wasn't making up any ground, or was gonna be able to make, I should say, be able to make a pass up on top, because it was so one lane. The middle was gone. And the type of driver I am, I will not move somebody for a pass or for a win. And it's sometimes to my detriment, honestly. I will jam on my brakes to not make contact with people. I'm like that in sim, and I was like that in the real world for 20 years racing. So, you have to try certain things. And at this place, for some reason, I've always been able to make that bottom work when a lot of guys can't. I don't know what it is, but I'm able to make it work. And thankfully it was there, and we got the job done. But yeah, you can't pass somebody when you're running the exact same line, and there's nowhere to go unless you move them. So you got to try different things and pray they work out.
As Soup Zahn likes to say, you got to run where they ain't. Any special shout outs for tonight's victory?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I've got to thank the Bootleg Racing League for giving us an awesome place to run every week. I've got to thank our 2 title sponsors, the Cruise Shop, of course, for their continued support over the years. I've also got to thank our other title sponsor and my team, Beaver eSports, Fistful of Bourbon, The Motorsports Drop 07 Designs with Matt Everhard. He makes all of our cars look absolutely amazing. I've also got to thank Sans Racing Fabrications, still running his prototype rig, which hopefully eventually he'll be getting this one back, and I'll be getting one of his new 80/20 rigs here shortly. Also, just want to give a quick shout out to my teammate Brandon Proudfoot. The reason you guys did not see him tonight, he is going to be making his first real life start at Bethel Motor Speedway in White Lake, New York, in a real life street stock. So, want to give him a special shout out. I was supposed to be out there with him tomorrow, but I had a prior commitment to an SK and Tour modified team at Evergreen Speedway in Pennsylvania. So, I will not be seeing you guys tomorrow night. But, and then also got to thank you guys at GSRC. You guys do an absolute incredible job, hands down, best broadcaster within all of sim racing. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not going to change my mind. You guys are hands down the best.
Well, thank you very, very much. Very flattering words there from Bobby Rafferty, our winner here tonight. And I believe up next, we've got DJ talking to our second place finisher, Stephen Spees, who was definitely up with the Fast Boys all night.
Stephen, you are up right near the pointy end of the field and always right in the heart of the action. Talk to me about running in that pack of really fast leaders tonight.
Yeah, it was so hard to pass all night. So I just I'd kind of settled in and figured I was finishing fifth or sixth because I couldn't make a pass on anybody. I got kind of railroaded at the start and tried to find a hole to get up top. But yeah, that was a tough night. Second place, I can't at all say that I'm happy about it tonight. I hate that I turned John there at the end. I thought he was kind of going down the track because he missed the cushion going into 4. So I was trying to make it a drag race down the front straightaway and didn't check up enough, or he slid up a little more than I anticipated. I don't know, probably my fault. So not feeling really good about it tonight, but we'll go on to the next one.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit of trying to get up to that high side. Were you able to make anything work on the low slide whatsoever? It looked like everybody was really struggling down there.
Yeah, I really expected it to come in. I expected that top to go away with everybody running up there, and that bottom to middle would kind of come in, or you could cut the corner low, kind of slide halfway up the track and get a good run off. But it just never came in tonight. It seemed like we kind of had a practice before the race, and then in the practice session before the race, it seemed like you could do a few different things. But once race time came, it was be at the top or nothing. It's like we were on Eldora.
It's one of the mysteries of dirt racing. Well, Stephen, it's a good result. Headed to Lanier next week. We will see you there. And anybody you need to thank before we go?
Yeah, thanks to Jim Beaver eSports for sponsoring, making broadcast possible, along with the Cruise Shop as the primary sponsor of the league. So we really appreciate those folks chipping in and making it possible to be able to be on here and have the friends and family watch and talk to you guys. Also, thanks to Midwest Turbo and Performance, mtpturbo.com. Anybody that likes to go fast in a straight line or have performance out on the street, take a look, and you can go look at EFI systems, turbochargers, pro chargers, all that kind of good stuff.
Well, Stephen, thanks for a great race tonight, and we'll see you next week. And now Joe is in the booth with our third place finisher, Tyler File.
Tyler, it seemed like you sipped a little bit of the same determination sauce that Bobby Rafferty had, because going from 15th to the podium is no mean feat. I mean, tell us about your mindset after you had the mistake in the heat race and how you recovered to get to spray the champagne tonight.
It was rough because then I went and did the same thing in the consolation race too. So I knew that I just had to pay attention. It's my first time running a street stock at Lernerville, and I didn't realize that unlike a sprint car, you can't just full throttle it all the way around the top. So I realized when I started pedaling the throttle, I got a lot better result, and I was able to move through that slick, so I didn't find myself out of the ballpark again.
Well, awesome adaptation then to read the track and work yourself into a better way around. So it looked like in your race, you kind of had to pick your way through bit by bit. Was that your approach? Just kind of take it one at a time, or what were you doing?
Yeah, there was a point there where I thought that I was just gonna sit in 10th or 11th, and we were gonna play follow the leader for a while because that's kind of just where the track was going. And then we started getting restarts, and that's where I had to make the difference, whether I was restarting on the bottom, and I just had to try and hold on and slide up in front of the guy in the corner, or whether I restarted on the top and I had a chance to get around a guy or two. That's really what it came down to, honestly.
So now that we've done a 4/10 of a mile, we're going to go just slightly shorter down to Lanier. Are you looking forward to a tiny little bull ring, or do you prefer a little more wide open places?
I mean, it really depends. Honestly, in a car like this, I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to hopefully try and put it up against the fence again because that's where I'm comfortable.
Clearly looking forward to having a little bit of a barrier. So congratulations on a third, and feel free to give any special shout outs that you might have.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to these guys for putting on the league. Thank you to you guys for, obviously doing the broadcast. Big shout out to my guys at Goon Squad Racing. A few of the sponsors we got School of Sim Racing, Randy's Automotive and Alignment, Lightning Wings and Powder Coating, Tulsa Sod Mulch, Pro Grade Graphics, 357 Esports. Don't think I'd be here without any of those guys.
Great stuff. That was Tyler File, our third place finisher here tonight. And I believe that'll end our interview. So we, of course, want to give a few thank yous before we get going, starting out with the Crew Shop. Again, if you want to get a hold of them, their phone number is 260-755-6125, or their website is thecrewshopfw.com. And then, of course, Jim Beaver Esports. You can find them at jimbeaveresports.com. They're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you goes out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts. They're listed here on your screen. Additional thanks goes to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. There you can see how to get a hold of her. And also thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We also have our social media, including Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store. There's a link in the description below, just simply gsrc.storeenvy.com. While you're down there, if you haven't subscribed yet, you'll know it because the subscribe button will be big and red. Click it so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we mentioned, we are going down to Georgia. Hopefully we don't meet the devil there. It's going to be next Friday, October 23rd at 8:10 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.